Human music. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Human music. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Human music. I like it. I like it. Human music. I like it.
And hello, you beautiful, wonderful people, and hello to my wonderful guest, SquidlyMarie. It is Monday, April 23rd, and it's time for another episode of the Palaver. Can everyone in chat say hello to the squidliest of Maries? Yeah.
Hi there, everybody.
Hi, Squidly. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
You know, I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I've known many Maries in my life. And I've met some people who are kind of squidly, but I've never met anyone who is as squidly and also as Marie as you.
Oh, that means so much.
It means absolutely nothing, but I'm glad you like it.
I enjoy it.
So, I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with chat for a second here. I always tell people whenever they do a Palaver, like, oh, yeah, get on Discord 15 minutes early, and then we can make sure of the connection. So Squidly here messages me at like 7:39. She's like, I'm ready. And I'm like, all right, fine, let's start setting. So we've just been talking for like the last 20 minutes already.
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah, you guys are coming in mid-conversation. Should we catch them up with where we are?
Yeah, sure. What should we start with? We just went over so many different subjects already.
I know. Let's go with the dentist. So I canceled my stream today.
Yeah.
And I was telling her how my dentist is a big Star Trek nerd, which the two of us, Star Trek nerds,
yes.
Right? Yeah, Star Trek nerds. Would you mind showing up people the tattoo?
Oh, no problem. You always complain that I put my hair on the wrong side.
It's literally,
but, yeah.
Listen, I gotta be honest. It was like the number one thing that when Inky's like, oh, my friend SquidlyMarie just started streaming. And I think I came in for your second ever podcast, or your second ever stream. And I saw it, and I'm like, oh! Right?
She's cool.
and you knew I was all right, because I was like, TNG era communicator.
I was like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, because so many people are like, oh, which one is that? I'm like, come on, they're very obviously different. Yeah,
they are. I think DS9 uses the same ones for a while, but then I think they do shift them. Could be wrong.
Yes, it's actually one of the more similar ones I noticed, because I just started watching Deep Space Nine for the first time, and I noticed the uniforms, and they kept it very, very similar, which as a TNG fan, that's my favorite. I came into it and I was like, yes, this feels very Star Trek-y. This feels similar and comfortable.
I think you're not wrong at all, Elhern. Elhern says, I always think of TNG as the communicator. I think that or the old school flip communicator, either of those are the iconic ones.
Yeah.
But I promised you no DS9 spoilers. So I won't do any spoilers.
Okay, yes. I'm not done with it yet.
But they do they do change the uniform. And I think you'll actually like the uniform they get later a little bit more. It just, I don't know, it just feels very cool. I don't know if you watched the episode of the Palaver that had Drew Hillian on. We talked nothing but Star Trek for an hour.
No, I didn't. Is it in the VOD?
Yeah, I'll link it to you. It's on my YouTube. It's probably not on VOD anymore, but it's up on YouTube, so where I archive.
I want to check that out, definitely. Any Star Trek talk.
Well, the only thing is maybe you might want to wait, because I don't remember if we get too much into spoilers with Deep Space Nine.
Oh, okay.
So, speaking of which, Loina. Hello, Hazmat. Loina. I have been so I've known him for like 3 or 4 years now, and I've been telling him forever, Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek. And he's like, what? Greater than TNG? And I'm like, trust me. I've watched all of the Star Treks a dozen times, at least. I've seen them all.
Yeah, I'm probably on my 4th watch through of the entire series of TNG.
Yeah. So when I say that Deep Space Nine is my favorite, believe me, it's coming from an informed place. And he finally, like just this year got around to watching Deep Space Nine, and he's like, God damn it, old man, I love Deep Space Nine. Yes.
And I remember because he was hounding me too. He was like, so, did you watch it? Did you finish it? Why aren't you done with it? I was like, listen, I've been watching the Orville and that kind of stuff lately. And he was like, no, you have to watch it. It's fantastic.
Well, you know what? The Orville.
I was so surprised how good it was.
Yeah, give me just 1 second. I just got to fiddle with the audio setting here. How's that now? They were saying that the audio was delayed. It's a constant problem I have. I don't know where the problem is, but when I do this type of podcast, sometimes the audio is delayed, and I'm pretty good about fixing it. But I don't know.
I've seen it happen like once before, but yeah, you're good at fixing it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of tapped out of the Orville. The last one I remember watching was where Isaac and the Doctor crash land on that one alien planet with the Doctor's 2 kids. And then and like it's like a Mad Max style world. And then there was another one where Rob Lowe was on it. And he played the blue alien that the wife cheated with.
Oh yeah.
And I can't remember which one.
I remember that one.
Yeah. But I don't know if there were any episodes after that. I think I saw all of season 1.
There was do you remember that episode that the one that really caught me as like a social commentary and that kind of stuff was the one where they wore the up and down badges and they were like, you know, executed according to what like, you know, the majority of people think about them. I thought that was fantastic. I was, you know, because it's a comedy, it's supposed to be a spoof and that kind of stuff. I really wasn't expecting it to be so deep, heavy with the like social commentary and the morals and that kind of stuff. I was really impressed, especially since I wasn't very impressed with Discovery.
Oh my God! Can we not talk Discovery? Well, I'll say
I don't want
this.
to talk Discovery.
When Seth MacFarlane was talking about the Orville, but while it was in production, he said that he was drawing a lot of inspiration from Star Trek The Next Generation, which was his favorite, but also the original series. And one of the things that he really wanted to do is, even though it was going to be a comedy, he really wanted to make it a good science fiction show. And also, in the vein of Star Trek, he really wanted to tackle social issues the way that Star Trek always had. And
they pioneered that, essentially.
Yeah. I think the Orville made a better Star Trek than Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, I'll definitely sign my name on that.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. That whole, and the funny thing too about the episode that you mentioned with the upvotes, that's not just a commentary on our social media culture. It's a commentary on politics and like the tyranny of the masses. So that goes into like, I know that he that Seth
the danger of majority rules, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and that goes a lot into the founding of America and what our founding fathers were building the country on and trying to avoid. So it's really interesting. I don't know anyways, the point I'm trying to say is if you haven't watched the Orville but you like Star Trek, watch the Orville. I guess
I second it.
Yeah. Yes. Let's just say real quick hello. I see a bunch of names in chat here, and hopefully we got the audio issue all straightened out. So we got, of course, your friend and mine, Inky. He's the one who got you into streaming. Hazmat, Myris, Alhern, who's a new friend, Bebop, one of the best artists in the universe. Xylo, Brother Rock. Yeah, look at it. We got all these.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Crafty Killers, happy you're here. I think that's everyone. Greg, so glad to see you all. Oh boy, yeah. I don't want to devolve into a whole hour long Star Trek, but believe me, I could.
We can do that off stream.
I will say that before I go to bed at night, a lot lately, I've been throwing up a little bit of Next Generation.
Oh my God. I do the same exact thing, especially since it's on Netflix and that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, I'll rewatch some of my favorite episodes.
And the nice thing is, when you know the whole series backwards and forwards, you know, when you're on your third plus watch of the series, you'd be like, I don't like this episode, skip. Watch like 5 minutes, you're like, okay, I know the entire episode now, just skip, go to the next one.
I didn't like this one very much. This one was kind of bland. I have to say, obviously, the Picard's flute episode is everybody's favorite,
Okay, the name of that episode is Guiding Light, and it's important to me that you know that.
I know it, but it's because of Family Guy that people call it Picard's flute. So I always, just as like, a trolling thing. But I forgot the name of my favorite episode, which is the one where everybody de-evolves.
That's a good one. With Barclay syndrome. I always forget the
name of that one. But it's fascinating to see like where all of these alien races evolved from. Obviously, we came from monkeys, so you see the monkeys all over the ship. But I love, that is just it's like one of those like scary sci-fi episodes. It must have come out in October or something, because it was brilliant. It was horrifying. It was like mystery, what was happening, and I don't know. It was great. That's my favorite episode, I would say.
And you want to know what's amazing about that episode? Really, another episode that showcases how great of an actor Patrick Stewart is.
Are you going to talk about the one, because my episode that talks about that shows
the Barclay syndrome
his
one.
Fantastic ability is the one with the Bendai syndrome, where Picard has to, because you know how Vulcans, feel like, 10 times the emotion that human beings do. Mm-hmm. And then, in order for
Sarek.
God, what's his name?
Sarek,
there we go. In order for Sarek to do these peace talks and everything, he needs to basically mind meld with Picard. And so Picard is sitting there alone in this room, having all of these emotions at once. And like, it's just, you can see like his classical acting coming through. It's so beautiful. That one I think is like, it always brings me to tears.
While I agree with you, I was still talking about the Barclay syndrome de-evolution episode, because when Picard starts devolving into like lemur DNA,
that's true.
And the way he's like,
I didn't even remember that part.
Yeah,
that's true.
He acts that so well, striding the line between like, okay, this is Picard, but now it's Picard who's losing control of himself and like the things that make him himself. Which, hold on, Iborg, I think was the name of the episode, parts 1 and 2, where he becomes Locutus. Another, like, there's so many. I mean, we could just sit here and talk about how many great things.
All of this?
We're not gonna. I mean, whatever. God. And then I started thinking about
Patrick Stewart rescues pit bulls as well.
There are 4 lights. And how about his bromance with Sir Ian McKellen?
Oh, that's so beautiful. I met both of them.
Oh.
Be jealous.
I am.
I have their autograph. I went to go see a play that they were both in the city in Manhattan. And I waited outside. It was the middle of winter and whatever. And I'm there, my fiance is behind me, and I'm waiting to get the autograph and everything. It took like, an hour and a half for them to come out. And the second that Patrick Stewart comes out, and he came out second. So, Ian McKellen came out first, and he was so great, and he came out second, and I just started like bawling. Like I couldn't even speak. Pablo was so embarrassed to be there and to know me. I was just crying, like that really heavy, like I was like, I love you so much.
I will say,
I was so embarrassed afterwards.
I've never been.
Thought I was insane.
I've never been that big of a celebrity guy. Like I've met a bunch of.
Me neither.
But I could totally see with them. I could see it. Did I ever tell you my story about when I bought James Doohan dinner? Scotty?
No.
Yeah. So this was in the 90s. I went to high school in the 90s, kids. In the early-ish to mid-90s, by the way. I graduated high school in 96. So this was in the 90s, and when I was living in Buffalo, New York, there was a Star Trek convention. And it was the first Star Trek convention I'd ever gone to because, like, even though I was a fan of the show, I was like, what do I care, right? And there was, what do they call them? I think they used to call them, like, the Fab Four. That was, like, Uhura, Scotty,
Yeah.
Chekhov, and Sulu, like those 4 actors, they were there. And so that was nice. I got to hear them talk, and then I got their autographs. And, well, anyways, at one point I parked my car on the far side, instead of the normal lot where I've been parked, I parked on the far side of the hotel because I'd gotten lost on the way and I came in the back entrance of the hotel, blah, 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 blah. So I went out to my car to go get something. Oh, no, I was taking stuff out because we didn't want to carry it around with us. So I was there with a friend and I was like, oh, I'll go put the stuff in the car. So as I was walking like to my car, I was walking like towards the back, and I walked sort of behind the hotel restaurant, right? And the hotel restaurant had like these big open arches that let you look in from the lobby and from the other side. And as I was walking through the back hall, there's like this half wall with these plants, and then right there is James Doohan. And he's just sitting there like reading a magazine or something. And I was like, oh my God, I know what he's doing. He's on his break, he's getting dinner. And I don't want to be that fan that goes up and like, I love you, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
I'm always worried about doing that.
Right. So I just said to him, I said, excuse me, Mr. Doohan, I know that you're on break and I don't want to bother you, but it would be a great honor for me if I could buy you your meal. And he kind of looked at me, and I don't remember exactly what he said because I was just like fucking in cloud nine, but he's like, oh, that'd be very nice, thank you. So I detoured, went in, and I went to the bar, and I said, I would like to pay for James Doohan's meal. Here's my credit card. Whatever he has to eat or drink, put on this card. Don't charge him a penny. And then that was it. Like, that's the end of my story.
That's so cool, though, and that's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a good story. Yeah. The only story that I have is, what's his name? The guy that played Willy Wonka? I'm terrible at names.
Well, there was Johnny Depp, and there was
the only Willy Wonka.
Oh my God! Why
you see
am
what I'm saying?
What's that?
I always forget names. I'm so terrible at this.
Oh my God! Richard Pryor and blank, and they did every movie together in the '80s. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder,
yes. So apparently I was in my little baby carriage. I was like maybe 1.5 years old. And my dad was, he was an amazing, like, crazy fan of Gene Wilder. And so I'm just still a baby. And apparently, because he loved Young Frankenstein and everything, he was walking down the street with me. And Gene Wilder just happens to walk by, and it's the city, so that kind of stuff does happen, but he just walks by, and my dad just kind of looks at him, and like Gene realizes, oh, he recognized me, so he pulls a lollipop out of his pocket and gives it to me. And that was it. They didn't have like any kind of discussion. They didn't say anything to each other. But my dad I always grew up with him telling me that story. You were given a lollipop by Gene Wilder.
I've only been to New York City maybe a dozen times or so. Maybe not even quite that many. Maybe like 10 to 12 times I've been to the city. And
I wouldn't recommend it.
What's that?
I wouldn't recommend it.
It's a nice place to visit. I wouldn't want to live there, but...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you want to go to a Broadway show or something, fantastic, beautiful night. But I'm not staying here.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. This might be dating me too much. This might be a little too old for you. Rock and Rage is going to appreciate this reference. I got a chance to roadie for a band when they performed at CBGB's before they closed. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Yes, it does. Holy shit. Because I was one of those like punk rock kids. Like, I don't know if it was such a thing, back in the day, but like I went to the underground, like, ABC No Rio and those kinds of places, and, the underground punk rock venues, and like, oh my God, CBGBs. That is awesome.
Inky says roadie, like we didn't know that. No, well, I meant CBGB's was more the reference, because they closed like a year and a half later. So if you figure out when they closed, it was.
No, yeah, it was before my time, but obviously it's gone down in history.
Dude, it's so funny. I just remember you could feel punk music history oozing out of the walls. Like, there's just graffiti, and you're like, oh shit, I think that's Sid Vicious's signature because it was just scrolled on a wall and then there was a frame around it. And I'm like, fuck. Like, like that's like.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. Also, insanely strong drinks. I asked for a Jack and Coke. It was like, Jack, Coke. Here you go. It's like, yes. So that was nice.
And I'm sure, you know, unwashed teenagers, and there's always a smell about these places.
Well, the night I
everybody's
went,
so tightly packed and everybody's sweating and all of that.
the night I went, it wasn't super crowded. I want to say it was like a Thursday night, and it was like sort of like the band I was doing there. They were like almost trying out to be a regular band for the club, kind of like I don't know, and I don't think they got the call back. Which is not too surprising because they were more, and again, this is back in the 90s, they were more, I don't know, what rock music, but it was more like lighter rock. You know what I mean? It was more like, like Wallflowers, Matchbox 20 than punk. You know what I mean?
What we would, like, I guess what they call alternative nowadays, or classic rock, or...
Yeah, I guess it was alternative rock, but yeah, I don't think they were exactly what CBG's was looking for. So, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I've been to the city a couple times. I've loved it. And what I was gonna say was just going back to the celebrity thing. I am almost positive I walked past Hugh Jackman, but my friend was like, "No, it was probably just a stunt double or a look-alike or something." I'm like, I don't know, because they were filming something in the city, and we were like one block over from where they were filming. You know, and that's just
they
like,
always do that. You can always see the famous people because they very obviously, you know, block out the entire road, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And there's lights and cameras, and then you have a crowd. Like,
yeah,
it's obvious, you know.
And it was just Hugh Jackman and some other dude walking down the street talking, and I was like, dude, I think that was Hugh Jackman. To my friend,
freaked out because Wolverine was like, you know, when I was even a kid and I didn't have any urges at all yet, I looked at Hugh Jackman, I looked at Wolverine, and I was like, oh my, that is one handsome man. Especially with the hair.
Yeah, I never
all of it. I loved it.
I gotta be honest, I'd never loved the choice as of Hugh Jackman. Now, honestly, at this point, like, how can you not imagine Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? But I remember when he was first cast as Wolverine, I was like, that's a bad cast. Like,
well, if you look at what the comic books are, first of all, he's way too tall.
Yeah.
And Wolverine's kind of more wide-shouldered, like low to the ground kind of, I don't know what the word would be, stocky, maybe.
Yeah. You hit it exactly. I just didn't see that guy, this tall, pretty boy, as Wolverine.
Yeah. Especially from the comics, you get this like really like rustic kind of like, you know, bearded cigar, you know, smoking. I don't want to say drunk because he can never get drunk, but he likes his alcohol regardless, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, but again, like now after all the movies, it's hard not to think of him as. Hey, let me ask you a question.
It's just like, you know, Professor X. You can't not see it as Patrick Stewart.
Although, what's his name? Who played the young McAvoy? Played the young. Are you a Marvel superhero comic movie fan?
Well, the movie is not so much. I would say not even the comics. Even though I have a few comics, and just simply because New York has all of those comic book stores and everything. So as a kid, I would walk in and grab whatever looked cool, but I was never crazy about it. I would say what really got me into X-Men and all of those kind of comic book heroes was like the old 90s cartoons. So like, you know, X-Men Evolutions and that kind of stuff is what really got me into it. So that's what I was into. Not the movies. I'm not very impressed by the movies, to be honest. And people condemn me for it, you know?
See, my friend was a huge, like growing up, my best friend, JP, he was a big big Marvel fan. And so he used to collect them all, and he would read each comic exactly once very carefully, and then he'd seal them away in, Mylar bags with acid-free paper backing, and they were all organized. And he was a big fan of the X-Men. I was a Spider-Man guy myself. That was me. But I didn't collect. I would buy them occasionally and just read them, and then it would drive him nuts because he'd be like, "Dude, you took this mint to a fair," and I'm like, "Whatever." But
I have to say, my favorite superhero would be would have to be Zorro. Whenever anybody asks me, because he did have a comic book, But then again, if you're talking DC or Marvel or whatever, it would have to be Batman.
I mean, I hate DC, but Batman is Batman.
Yeah, exactly. You see, I feel like as a whole, they don't have as much to offer as Marvel does, but Batman is their bread and butter.
And honestly, my main reason for hating DC is their other iconic character, Superman. I hate Superman. Superman's the worst. He's like the worst hero. It's like, oh, here's an invincible Jesus God alien. How are you ever supposed to relate to that? Like, ever in a million years. Like, all right. And then they would just fucking give him new powers anytime they wanted. It's like...
Well, I mean, I grew up watching my dad's the old cartoon that it was kind of like, when was it from? Was it from the 60s? The one that has that old radio time voice going faster than a speeding bullet.
I don't know, because I was never a fan of DC. So, and also you have to understand too, as a kid, we didn't even own a television in my house till I was like 8 or 9 years old. So.
Oh, I didn't. We had a television, but we only had VHSs. We weren't allowed to watch cable because cable was of the devil.
Yeah. Xylus says every DC hero is something man or something woman. So original. Yeah. He's not wrong. Aquaman, Superman, Batman, Hawkman. I mean, okay, The Flash, I guess, kind of breaks that. But yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, and then Alern says, tell that to The Flash. Yeah, I don't know. And I disagree with Bex. Bex says that DC villains are better. No way. You cannot compare. Any villain in DC Comics doesn't compare to Venom. Venom is just one of the most badass villains of all time.
I'm only thinking of, I guess, I mean, kind of. I kind of agree with you because I'm only thinking of all the badass Batman villains. There's some of them are really, really stupid, but like, Solomon Grundy, like just really fascinating backstories and that kind of stuff. But then again, you're right. I can't really pick out any other DC.
Bex brings up the only
villains.
One worth mentioning, Joker. Like, that's it. That's it.
That's true.
I will say the one thing I did like about DC was they introduced Harley Quinn in the I think it was 90s Batman animated series.
Yes, that's where she was born, yeah.
And she was so well received. They're like, okay, she's canon now. Let's give her own comic. And she's beloved. Everyone loves Harley Quinn. Like, but even that, like, she's just sort of a female Joker, really. Like,
yeah. And she's pushed around a lot. I know there's that whole, politically correct bull crap about people saying, oh, it's an abusive relationship, don't idolize it. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. They're villains. They're horrible people. They're not going to be nice to each other,
Yeah.
Don't take it too seriously, I guess.
I just, Bex is, you have to understand, Bex is in love with Batman and Catwoman, and so she's going to be biased. But I'm
not a Catwoman fan, though. I'm not a Catwoman fan. I want Batman all to myself.
I understand. I will say again, I give Batman a pass on the DC hatred. And a lot of it has to do with the supporting characters around Batman. It's like, how can you not love Jim Gordon? How can you not love Alfred? The Joker is so fantastic. Like, there's so many great characters in the Batman comics, but other than that, like...
It's true. I mean, I like some of their animated movies, but The Killing Joke was really, really disappointing. The only thing that was great to hear was the Joker's voice again, Mark Hamill, but
Now, I never saw the animated movie, The Killing Joke, but when you say The Killing Joke, I immediately think of the graphic novel, The Killing Joke, which just... Like, people don't understand. The Killing Joke animated graphic novel, not animated, I'm sorry, the graphic novel, The Killing Joke, people don't understand that changed Batman. Like, literally, Batman was one way, and then The Killing Joke came out, and then Batman was different after that. Like, that graphic novel changed the way people looked at the Batman. Like, they started taking him in different directions. They started spinning off into different series with him. And, like, that was super, super dark for Batman at the time. Like,
and I think that's important. You know, I think that's the reason that Batman has become so kind of like a diamond in the rough, because I feel like they really, in a sense, focus on his backstory, his emotional intelligence, and you see his climax. You see his whole storyline, go from, he's just a little kid looking for revenge, and then, everybody knows the story. But I think that's why he's so iconic, because they do focus on that. And, with Superman, he's just Superman. He's just an awesome guy, he's never sad. He's never, you know what I mean? Like, he's not a real person. And I think that's the point you were making earlier as well.
Yeah, and I think they even kind of dip into that in Batman versus Superman, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, by the way. Batman versus Superman, they do the thing where the Flash shows Batman a vision of the future where Superman is worshipped as a god. And it's like, well, he basically is.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically is. The only weakness he has is some little crystal that isn't even found on the planet. That
doesn't exist on Earth.
Like, all right, you're just invincible and can do anything. Okay. I mean, that's basically a god.
I'm lucky I didn't see it. I'm lucky I did not see it. I knew it was not going to be entertaining to me.
The only thing that made it entertaining is I watched it with Loina, where we got in voice comms, and I'm like, okay, ready, 3, 2, 1, go. And we were watching it at the same time, and just like Mystery Science Theater 3000 in it. That was the only thing that made that movie tolerable. Like, the only movie that I've seen in recent history that was even worse than that was the Ghostbusters.
Oh, I didn't see that either. I'm not really a movie-going kind of person. I like watching the movie once it, comes out onto Netflix. I'll even torrent it, even though I shouldn't.
Yeah. I'm not a proponent of illegally downloading anything. I'm a firm believer in, if you like something, you pay for it.
I completely agree.
I've got a Redbox 5-minute walk from my front door, so it's it's not like it's hard to go get a movie.
But see, I will defend myself. When I torrent a movie and I like it, I will go out and purchase it, because me personally, I don't want to, essentially just watching it and loving it, even though I got it for free. I don't really love it. You know what I mean? I want to give I want to make sure that my sale matters, that everybody sees that this demographic, we enjoy this movie. Give us more of this. You know what I mean?
Okay, I just want to, someone, Inky says we're watching DP2 and Venom, but I'm not sure what DP is. Deadpool? It must be Deadpool 2, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's Deadpool.
Yeah.
He's always going on about Deadpool to me, and I'm not too impressed by Deadpool. I think it's more of a testosterone thing.
Thank God I got my headphones on. If my wife heard you say that, she'd be like, cut this bitch off. She doesn't deserve to live. That is my wife's favorite movie. I don't mean favorite superhero movie. I mean, it's possibly her favorite movie. It's like,
oh my God.
It's like My Cousin Vinny, Deadpool. Like, that's the order.
Well, I love My Cousin Vinny.
My biological clock is going like this. Yeah,
The youths. The youths.
2 youths. You got mud in your tires. What's that mean? What does that mean? I got mud in my tires. And
But yeah, so
said,
Deadpool, I was really impressed by the beginning.
He said, I shot the clerk. And then I asked, you shot the clerk? And he said, I shot the clerk. I'm sorry. Now I'm thinking about My Cousin Vinny. Well, this is the way the palaver goes.
It's so quotable.
If you're new here, this is the way the palaver goes. You just spin out of control for an hour.
I love it. It's fantastic. I'm having fun.
Yeah, that's all it is. I've legit never seen that movie. Vin is... I don't... All right, hang on. Give me a second. I have to unfriend Darth Bex. Yeah. No, My Cousin Vinny... You know what the great thing about My Cousin Vinny is, too? Is since it's my wife's favorite movie, we at one point had 2 copies because when I moved in with her, I owned a copy of it on DVD and then she owned a copy. But, we sold one at a garage sale, but, like, she watches it at least twice a year. And I can tell you, one of the things that's great about it still holds up. Like, everything in that movie holds up.
I agree. I mean, I saw it when I was little, and then I saw it, as you grow, you have different tastes and that kind of stuff. I still love it. I still love it today, and especially, I feel like my father had such great taste in movies, and he had perfect idea of what comedy should be, So he showed me all the old Abbott and Costello monster movies with, Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein and The Invisible Man and all of that. I am obsessed.
Ooh, something just got dark. Oh, there you are.
What just happened?
I'm guessing your screensaver kicked on, huh?
Yes, and I just hit the mouse, so that was magical. But yeah, so I saw all of these movies probably when I shouldn't have, when I was very, very young. And it's true. If they hold up, if the comedy is still, even if it's out of context, even if somebody from, the next generation watches it and it's still funny, it's a classic.
Sorry, I was just laughing at Inky.
I did not trade her well enough.
What can I say? Yeah, I'll just say this. I'm looking forward to you and Pablo are coming to our neck of the woods. And when I say our, I mean mine and Coyote and Shiki. And in May?
Yes, end of May.
End of May.
It's kind of my graduation gift to myself.
So I've only got a month to try to get my life in order and try to figure out what I'm doing with my fucking self, in other words.
No, I want to see it raw.
Oh, boy. Well, yeah. Okay, good, because my life is just... It is what it is. So you're not... As long as you keep your hopes and standards nice and low, you won't be disappointed.
Okay, good.
I don't know if I ever told you this. The first time I ever met Coyote and Shiki IRL, I was streaming, and they were in chat, and obviously we both knew where the other one. We knew where we lived. We knew that we lived close by, and I was just like, "Yeah, come over. I don't care." And they just showed up, and then they hung out the whole. It was a 4-hour drinking stream, so then they were just here drinking with me in real life.
Well, we'll have to recreate something like that.
I've taken a little bit of time off from the drinking streams. The last one did not go super well. And I've also decided I'm never doing shots for subs or donations or bits ever again. It's a bad practice to get into. You can get in trouble. And yeah, but I have sort of missed drinking with friends. Like, I kind of want to bring it back, No,
yeah. I totally agree. Especially, I feel like, especially I have a bad esophagus, so I can't really overdrink even if I wanted to, because my body won't let me, but it starts to burn. But when, especially, Inky moved, and now when he comes over, I always get a bottle of wine or something for us, and we polish off the bottle of wine, and that's really the only time. God bless you. That's really the only time that I do drink, and it's more fun to do it that way, with an old friend, and we always stream every time he's here as well, so like a nice drinking stream and talking to the wonderful, amazing people in our communities, and it's better because especially my kind of drunk is a very chatty kind of drunk, so.
You know what's funny? This may surprise you. When I get drunk, I just shut up. I just stop talking. I just sit there and I'm like,
that's weird. I wouldn't think that's the kind of drunk you were.
Well,
Wow.
like I get chatty and chatty and chatty, and then I get to a certain level of drunk, right, and I just shut up, and I'm like, all right, I just want to listen now. Like,
He's done for the night.
yeah, now I just want to listen to people. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
I think that's a good practice, though. I feel like, especially me, because I love talking. If there's an opportunity to talk and to, discuss things, especially subjects that I love, Star Trek, that kind of stuff, I'll just go on and on and on until somebody stops me. I think it's really important to learn how to listen. That is a really good skill.
Well, I think another thing comes into play is that when I was in my early 20s, I always joke that I spent my early 20s learning how not to drink, right? Like I learned the wrong way to drink when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And a lot of that learning came about in bars. And you get into enough bar fights, you learn, hey, when I get to a certain level of drunk, I'm going to shut the fuck up. And then you don't get into fights. And I think that's where it comes from. I don't know.
That's a good way to train yourself.
Listen, this nose has been broken more than once. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh no. You don't
get a schnoz like this naturally. That's a broken nose schnoz. Most people don't see it because it's usually straight on, but it's pretty broken.
I see the bump. Pablo has that bump as well.
Yeah.
The broken nose, I did something bad in my past bump.
Yeah. If I'm not going to do it, but if I tilted my head up and got real close, you'd see that like one nostril is like this, the other was like that. Like,
oh no.
What are you gonna do? I always said I never minded getting into fights. Like I wasn't ever scared of fighting. When I was younger, like I would do it. And I'm a big guy. I used to be 6'4", but age has shrunk me down to like about 6'3". And I'm built big. Like it's just whatever. So I was never afraid of fighting. But let me tell you something, kids. Getting punched in the face hurts.
I'll second that. I have been punched in the face. I've never broken my nose, but I got hit in the jaw once, and there was a big, how when you get hit in the jaw and you really screw up that muscle right there, and it's hard to chew, and you get a big bump there. It's horrible. It's horrible.
The TMJ, the turbomandibular joint.
I don't know anything about what it's called. I just know it hurts.
Yeah. Inky says he wants to see the nostril. No. That'd just get clipped instantly if I tried to show people my nostrils, and it's not a good look.
I have extra large tonsils. Very.
What?
Yes, it came out of nowhere, but it's something that that everybody always asks to see, and it's a very you tell somebody about it, right? And then they're like, "Oh, let me see," and then you have their face down your throat. You know what I mean? Like their eyes are like all the way down your mouth. So it's the same thing. When you tell somebody there's something fucked up about my nose, then you have to stick your nose in their face.
Oh boy! Now I would just like to let you know the amount of restraint that I had to use right then to avoid making some sort of deep throat type reference. I
noticed it once I said it.
It would be inappropriate. It would be, impolite to you as my guest, and you're fine. You know what we didn't do? I usually do this right at the start. You are a streamer. You stream to the proper nerds and prepare for the mediocre communities. Do you want to tell people what you stream if they don't know you and why they should absolutely be following you?
Oh, well, my name is SquidlyMarie.
I forgot about it because our conversation started 20 minutes before the podcast did, so I didn't even think of it.
I am a very new Twitch streamer. I was brought in by the wonderful Inky. I started off as a retro streamer, and I still love to do my retro games, mostly N64 and GameCube games, but I have been doing a lot of Minion Masters lately with the fantastic Prepare for the Mediocre community, because we're all addicted to it now, apparently. But now I would consider myself a variety streamer. So just because, you know, you get new games and you wanna play them with the community, and you know, I've become a variety streamer.
I blame myself, by the way. I'm the one who introduced PTFM to Mania Masters. And then I was like, I don't like this game.
Oh no, it was you!
Yeah, it was me. It was me. Sorry.
You're like, I don't like it, you can have it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, I like it, but I feel like it's just not... Like, I feel like that's a great 10-minute game. Like, I like playing like one match or two matches of it, and then that, like, I'm done. I can't imagine playing that for a 6-hour stream, you know? I'm sorry, Elhern. So, Elhern joined us from another sister community to the Proper Nerds, which is the Chaos team. I don't know the exact name of it. I'm sorry. I apologize. Prepare for the Mediocre is another sister community that I have. So, backtracking real quick, Coyote Wildfire is a member of Proper Nerds, and he's the founder of PTFM in much the same way I'm a member of PTFM and the founder of the Proper Nerds community. And Coyote lives about 40 minutes away from me, and he's a great guy. And at one point, he was thinking about joining Proper Nerds as a featured streamer, but we said, no. You've got a great community there. Keep building that. And he decided that would be for the best, which we were really happy to see because PTFM has since really taken off. And so it's another community like Proper Nerds. Yeah.
I never knew the history. I love that.
Yes, PFTM. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he started, so when we started talking to Coyote, he had been running Prepare for the Media, PFTM, for, I want to say, a little over 2.5 years, or around 2.5 years. And there had been almost no growth. And he saw what we were doing, and he's like, I really want to be a part of this. But he didn't want to give up PFTM. And so I think it was me and Lassane and Loina and Igninox got him in a channel, and we just sat and talked for like 2 hours. And the more he told us about his community, we said, listen, man, if you really want to give up on PFTM, that's fine. We'd love to have you. 100% we would take you in a heartbeat. But we kind of all feel like you've really got a good foundation there. And if you make a couple tweaks, you know, it can take off. And he did.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you've ever looked at the PFTM Discord, you'll notice a lot of similarities to Proper Nerds. You know, like just the way it's sort of laid out. And so we're all really happy that Coyote sort of took some of our ideas and incorporated them into PFTM. And since then, he's been going at PFTM like 90%. And I say 90% because he's still active in Proper Nerds. And he also recently joined Team MZ, which is my oldest community. I've been in Team MZ almost as long as I've been streaming. So, like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, almost a year and a half.
I recently heard of Team MZ from you.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to look into it, but, you know, I barely have any time for the communities that I'm already a part of right now because 2 weeks to go and I graduate.
Yay!
But I got to stick my nose in the books and make sure that happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I went to college the first time back in the 90s, the best piece of advice I didn't take, was hit the books 24/7 from Monday morning until Friday afternoon. Just don't have a life. Just study, sleep, books. Study, sleep, books. Study, sleep, books. Go to every single class. Just make your life 100% about college. And then, like, Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock until Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, then you live your life. You get 48 hours of having and I wish I'd taken that advice because I didn't, and that's why I failed out of college the first time.
You get many chances though. It's sad because you'll lose the money.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a little difficult because I did do that. It was kind of like school is my life, and you know, Inky would get really mad at me because I would never have any time to, you know, hang out and that kind of stuff. But then, you know, I started streaming just a few months back, and And I decided, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give myself a schedule. I'm going to put time and effort and, a little bit of money into it. I'm going to get myself what I need. And I'm still obviously improving, with, the amazing, advice and support from, you, Coyote, everybody. But I feel like, it's tough. It's tough to divide my time properly. But it was amazing. The other day I was just fixing up my stream. I was doing a little test stream, and people thought I was actually streaming. I guess it sent them the notification, and I was like, I don't really have the time to stream today, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just doing a little test. And people started, doing a song requests and playing music and, hanging out and just chatting. And it just really warmed my heart because, it doesn't matter that I'm not doing anything to entertain you right now. We're just all hanging out, because we're a community and we're friends. And it was great.
That is a great thing. Last week I was having problems with OBS, and I had to do several test streams where I was trying to fix the problem. And I said, test stream, and I had IRL, and I said, test stream, please do not show up. I'm not streaming. And every time I hit live, people were popping in the chat. I'm like, guys, listen, this isn't a real stream. And they're like, that's okay. And they're like, we're just here to make fun of you. And I'm like, all right. So I get it. It's nice. And that's one of the things that's so great about Twitch, in my opinion, is... So for me personally, video gaming was always a social experience. Like, as a kid, I was not allowed to sit in my bedroom and play video games by myself. If I was home alone and my parents heard the video games going, they'd come in and be like, turn that off, read a book or do homework or study. Like, I would, or go outside, video games were not something I could do by myself. But if my friends were over, and my mom even says that was the reason that they allowed me to save up my chore money and whatever to buy a Nintendo, was because my mom said only, much later in life, she goes, I thought it would be a socializing experience. I didn't want him to be the kid at school that doesn't have one. And I was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, especially back in those days, it was, without the internet gaming that we have nowadays. I mean, I remember even when I was younger, and my brother is 4 years older than me, which, I mean, isn't much, but is significant when you're younger. And all the kids on the block, all of his friends, they would all come over and play things like, a Street Fighter, Rock Band, whatever, because you couldn't stay in your house and not socialize and play video games. It was either you played a single player RPG alone, or, you had those games that you could play with literally 7 other people crammed into your living room, getting all, hot, and the AC isn't working. And, I remember those summer nights, and I agree. I feel like gaming has always been a social experience for me and my family, at least, as well.
Yeah. I mean, even single-player RPGs, me and my best friend, who I mentioned earlier, the comic book collector, like, I remember he had a Sega Master System, and we would play Phantasy Star, but it would be like, we would trade off the controller where one of us would be playing, and the other one would be, like, writing notes. And, like, even in that, like, we were playing together, even though it was a single-player RPG. You know what I mean? Like... And I think that's what I love about Twitch is right here, down below, you see the chat's been scrolling by. This is a communal experience that we do here, right? I don't know. I
would do the same thing with my brother, actually, because he was always like, oh, no, you can't play it. You're too young. You're too stupid. You don't know how to play this yet, So I would sit there and, that would be our TV. We would sit there and, he would be playing it and I'd be watching him play it. And if there's something like, a puzzle or something that he couldn't get, I would be able to be like, hey, why don't you move that over here? Or maybe there's a secret wall over there, and he'd always be like, shut up. And then I'd be right.
See, I was the oldest child and I had 3 younger siblings growing up. I say growing up because my parents adopted 2 children a few years ago. They decided their late 60s was the time to adopt, young children, but whatever. Anyways, and so when we would have the younger sibling that would come in and say, I want to play too, I wasn't allowed to be like, no, get the hell out. But what we'd do is just hand them a controller that was unplugged, and they would just sit there and press. They wouldn't know, and my parents were fine with it. They knew exactly what was going on. They didn't care because that way my, brother felt like he was included.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. You were a good older brother. My brother was a tyrant.
I was an okay older brother. I mean, I will say that when we would play outside, one of my favorite games to play was Run Away from Joey. Joey hated that game. Hey, Joey, you know what time it is? What? It's time to play my favorite game. No, not. Yup, run away from Joey. And then we would everyone would scatter and we'd run away from him and he'd chase us. And then eventually we'd all conglomerate and he'd find us. And, okay, I caught you guys. I'm like, all right, what do you guys want to play now? And we'd look around and be like, oh, you want to play Ghostbusters? No, you want to play? Oh, I know what we should play. Let's all play Run Away from Joey. And then
oh no.
Joey hated that game. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Older siblings can be real assholes.
Nah. I mean, they teach you good lessons, though. They teach you good life lessons. I never made any of the same mistakes that I made with my brother with anybody else. You learn not to talk back to people who can beat you up,
I was never really very physical with any of my younger siblings. So my one brother is 5 years younger than me, and then my sister is 7 years younger, and then my last brother is 11 years younger than me. So there was enough of an age range that I never really got real physical with them because
you weren't the same size ever.
Yeah. It would have just been mean bullying, even the Run Away from Joey, it was when he was 5 and I was 10, 10-year-old doesn't want that.
I mean, we played WWE and that kind of stuff. You'd be like, oh, yeah, lift me up and throw me around and then throw me on the bed. Sometimes we get hurt, but kids get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, kids get hurt. Exactly. That's very true. They'll be fine. Anyone who's got a little kid, if you got, honestly, my audience is largely people in their late 20s, early 30s. If you've got kids and they get hurt, don't worry, they'll be fine. Don't worry. Well, listen, I warned you that this was going to be coming, but we're just about out of time.
No!
I know!
I wasn't even looking at the clock.
I know. I just looked down. I was 8:56. I was like, yeah, that's what happens.
Oh, no!
But
you're so right.
I know. Well, one of the things I like to do, though, is, was there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything we didn't have time to address or anything you were kind of hoping for? And the only reason I asked that is because I know you're talking about doing your first podcast yourself.
That's true. After, my goal right now is to hit 200 followers, and I think we're 3 followers away from that. And we'll be doing a little giveaway, give back to, my amazing followers. But after that, I really wanted to try and do a charity live stream for something like, the American Diabetes Research Association, St. Jude, something like that. I just feel like, I feel blessed with so much love, so much friendship, so much support, and I feel like I really want to give back. So I was thinking about, doing a little interview podcast in the future, maybe next month. But I don't have a set date for it yet. But definitely the first thing we're going to be doing is that giveaway.
Well, I will definitely be there checking it out. I mean, I love it. I think that you're a fantastic streamer. I think you have fantastic on-screen persona. I did just shout you out. Oh, and Elhern says he just followed you, so there you go. There's one more.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I love the energy and creativity and persona you bring to your streams. So if you're not already following SquidlyMarie, I just shouted her out in chat. Please, 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 do me a favor. Just open up a new tab, toss her a follow, check her out when she's live. She's fantastic. I think you'll really enjoy her. But that does bring us to the end of the show. So let me just address chat for 1 second here. What we're going to do is we're going to do one last thing, and then we're going to raid into someone. I want to see everyone go over there, and whoever we drop our raid on, I've got them ready to go. Blow up their chat, show them some love. If you're not already following them, drop them a follow, show them a little love, be like, yeah, what's up, Dust Rev Raid Bomb, or Palaver Bomb, or whatever. And then we're going to get out of here. I will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Sorry for missing today's stream. I was in a bad place, just migraine, and it wouldn't have been you ever have that? You ever have, like, you want to stream, but you're like, ooh, if I stream, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to know your limits. And today it was just, I slept. I slept for 3 hours when I would normally be streaming. So.
That means something. That means your body wasn't having it.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to end the Palaver the way we always do. We're going to do this thing. We're going to say goodbye, and we're going to drop a raid bomb. So, SquidlyMarie, the thing we do to end our Palavers is we give our guest the final word.
God, I knew this was coming. I've seen so many Palavers. Fish are friends, not food.
Fish are friends, not food. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Rev is logging out of the system. Please stand by for a raid on another Twitch streamer. Establishing connection now. Please hold.